How to install rear king shocks on a 2500 or 3500 Sprinter two-wheel drive dually chassis. Just a quick disclaimer, please make sure to watch the entirety of this video before installing this product. If you have any questions at all, feel free to give us a call or email us at sales@vanupoffroad.com. If you do get to a point where this installation might just be a little bit too much, feel free to check out one of our installation centers in Davis, California or Mesa, Arizona. This kit includes two-wheel drive king shocks. It also includes Deaver leaf springs, a U-bolt kit for those leaf springs, and a brake line extension bracket. Shown in the video are reservoired shocks with an adjuster. These are a prototype and may be subject to change when we reach our final production model. The following is a list of tools you'll need to complete this installation. Just a quick side note, you may or may not need to cut the bolts connecting the leaf spring to the shackle underneath. It really just depends on the manufacturer's configuration of the underbody. To begin, we have our van in the air on the jack and on jack stands. And the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and remove the exhaust from the vehicle. And this just provides additional clearance and saves us time and headache later when replacing the leaf springs. Next, we're going to remove our OEM shock bolts and we're going to remove the factory shocks. Now we're going to go ahead and loosen our U-bolts. We're not going to take them out just yet, but we're going to loosen them up pretty close to the edge. At this point, we're going to loosen up our leaf spring bolts. We can then disconnect the rear sway bar end links on both sides of the vehicle. Depending on the vehicle, we're now going to cut off the bolt head to push the bolt through where the leaf spring is. It really depends on the configuration underneath. Sometimes the bolt will slide right out, other times there are things like plumbing or boxes blocking it. Now that our bolt heads are cut off, we can go ahead and drop one side of the rear axle. What we're going to do here is loosen up the U-bolts on the opposite side we're working on, and then we're going to remove the U-bolts on the side we are working on, and this is going to allow the axle to droop down further on the side you're working on to give you that clearance you need. At this point, we're going to take the weight off of the rear axle and let the rear axle droop. At this point, you'll want to grab a friend, and you're going to remove the OEM leaf spring as well as the lift block between the leaf spring and the axle. Now that your OEM leaf spring is out, it's time to mount the new leaf spring in there. Because the underbody can change based on manufacturers and vehicles, how you actually orient these leaf springs to go over the axle may vary. Just know it is worth the hassle. Each van will be different, but the result will be the same.
You want to hold it while it's going right about there? Yerd. T McGee. Are you guys using Loctite on this?
We're going to go ahead and put the stock U-bolt cradle on top of the new leaf spring. Now that your leaf spring is in position, the cradle is back on top, we're going to go ahead and slip our new U-bolts on there, and then we're going to run our 19mm nuts with a washer on the bottom.
Yeah, ditto.
If you need to, now you will go ahead and cut off the leaf spring retainer in the front, and this will just give you the clearance you need. Next, we're going to remove the stock brake line bracket. Once the old brake line bracket is removed, we're going to go ahead and install the new brake line extension bracket using a 14mm and a 17mm wrench. Now we're going to tighten down our 24mm leaf spring bolts. Now that your new leaf spring is snug, we're going to go ahead and repeat steps 6 through 16 on the opposite side. So first we're going to slide the 22 millimeter bolt and washer through the frame. Once you have your bolt through the frame, you can go ahead and slide your shock through and then secure it with a washer and a nut on the back end. Now we're going to adjust the bottom of the shock into the mounting location and use the stock 21 millimeter bolts to secure it into place. Now that you have both leaf springs in place, we're going to go ahead and jack up the rear end enough so that the weight is back on the leaf springs, and now we're going to torque our U-bolts to 140 foot-pounds. Once both shocks are installed, we're going to go ahead and torque everything down and make sure everything is tight. So just as a reminder, your top shock bolt is going to be torqued at 110 foot-pounds, bottom shock bolt at 75 foot-pounds, your sway bar links will be at 62 foot-pounds, and your leaf spring hanger bolts will be at 70 foot-pounds of torque. After everything has been torqued down and you're sure that everything's tight, grab a buddy and reinstall your exhaust. Last but not least, we're going to reinstall our wheels and tires. If you like the content you're seeing, please feel free to like and subscribe. If you have any questions at all while installing this kit, feel free to give us a call or shoot us an email. We're always happy to help.